Hey everyone, tonight we are here at Hot Springs State Park in Wyoming. It's a very beautiful place. The entire area smells like a giant fart from all the sulfur in the water. But when you get up close, it smells just like fireworks or lighting a match, which is very pleasant, I think. So the water is supposed to be coming out of the ground around 130 or 140 degrees. If you look around, you can see a whole bunch of giant bubbles. But by the time the water starts trickling downstream, it's cool enough to touch, but only for a few seconds before getting burned. Got these series of pipes here. Got a bunch of bubbles coming up. And this machine here is either a temperature sensor or a water gauge. It's really nice, all the minerals built up all around this. You see there's a little bit of steam. It'd be awesome to see this on a below freezing night. Today is only about 68 tonight. Looks really pretty. As it leaves the hot spring, it enters a stream, goes down this little canal, and here's a really good spot to touch it. You can only touch it for a few seconds or it will burn you. Nice. Feels really good. Very steamy. Smells like someone just lit off a whole bunch of fireworks. Very pleasant to touch, but it will burn me if I keep my hand in more than a couple seconds. Nice slime under there too. See, that piece right there is about to break free. Got a lot of algae. A lot of insects like hanging around it. Very nice and warm. Looks like a lot of people have been pushing in the walls. If we walk down the canal a bit, it enters two culvert pipes underneath the road, continues down to a large lake. We're gonna go see that whole heated area. And somehow this gets to a nearby bathhouse. It might be those pipes we saw up there earlier, or maybe those pipes were just installed to get the water out of the ground. So we're going to climb up on this wall, come over here where it's leaving the culverts, see a good amount of steam coming out. And that's really cool. Look at that buildup right there. A lot of steam gushing out of them pipes. And right here's some very cool looking buildup of sludge. Be careful not to fall in. It wouldn't be the worst thing, but it would hurt after just a few seconds. So this goes down pretty far. Kind of cool just to look at the weird whitish algae strands. Extremely pretty. Oh yeah, this whole area is steaming. Looks like a suspension bridge here all lit up. Alright everyone, standing around here so long, being near all this steam, it actually makes my mouth taste kind of like chlorine. Not complaining, it smells pretty good. I love the smell of sulfur. The water at home always smells like that, but this is an extreme amount. Not wheelchair accessible. Oh wow, this whole area was gonna be cool. Let's go out on the suspension bridge. The whole area here, for like 2 hours out, you could smell it on the highway. It smelled like giant farts being sucked into the vehicle. Oh, this is cool. Suspension bridges are always fun to walk on. Wow. That is so high up. Look at the hot spring right there. Let me zoom in a bit. Here's where it's entering the river. Pouring down a hot waterfall. This is much higher than I expected it to be. Look way down there. We're really high up. Large cliff walls. All right, we're walking down the other way. This is very beautiful. This is all the water trickling from up above where we were touching it. Here, you're not allowed to go in there. Have to stay on the trail in this area. Looks extremely pretty. Look at this gigantic heated body of water here. Making sure that focuses if anyone wants to pause and read that. These mineral deposits are awesome. This right here is from times when it's higher. Back there on the walls of that canal, I could tell sometimes it runs a lot faster. And right here's another giant pool before it goes over the cliff. Maybe sometime when we're in the area, we'll come back and see this in the daytime. The water this far down is actually very nice, kind of impossible to burn you. It's kind of like bath water now, much cooler. There's also a bunch of snails living in it. Very pretty. Look at this steady slope leading up to the cliff, going into the river. If they don't do some maintenance here at some point or raise this thing up, it's going to start coming over the deck. See all these minerals that are plugging up the entire underside of the boardwalk. Maybe that's what this is. Maybe they dug it out because it was doing that. That's probably why there's holes here everywhere. It's very pretty. Giant heated pond. The only life I've seen so far is there's a lot of snails. There's a lot of some type of larvae in here. Kind of looks like mosquito larvae. This is quite beautiful. We're gonna have to check this out in the morning. Awesome. All the mineral dams holding up this water all over the place. It's a whole dam just made by minerals. The water at this point is actually kind of cool. Warm, but cool. Nice. There's so much sulfur in the air. You can taste it on me. I'm probably going to taste this for hours once I leave. So much of it in the air. Can you guys notice that? Not really on the camera, but in person, all this white mineral is very reflective. And right here, just a giant drop. It's amazing. We'll have to check it out in the morning. It'll be more exciting. Alright everyone, right now we are driving around the buffalo pasture of Hot Springs State Park, and we're about to go back and get a little bit of footage from the daytime. It's going to look a lot cooler in the daytime. It's going to look like an entire different area. Now we're out here just looking for some buffaloes out in these areas. I'm going to show you, there's a sign that says buffalo are dangerous, but actually technically they're all bison. The sign says entering bison enclosure, but it says buffalo are dangerous. Two different animals, but most people consider them the same thing. That's probably why the signage is like that. There's the sign I was talking about. I thought that was kind of funny. Warning, buffaloes are dangerous, but it is a bison pasture. Most people get them confused anyways. Alright everyone, we're back and it's morning time. Area looks beautiful, nice sunny day. It's about 87 degrees out today. A bit hot. I just went for a dip in their free hot spring swimming pool. It feeds out of this, keeping the in-ground pool, there's one indoors and outdoors, to 104 degrees. A bit too hot for me. I couldn't stay in more than 5 minutes. Here's where we were last night. Beautiful green algae. Now this is hot enough to burn you. And I'm guessing these pipes here is how they feed it into those pools down there, the swimming pools. They also have another place with water slides, but you gotta pay to go in there. Right here's a small hiking trail that goes up and over the mountain into a bison pen where they're roaming around. Most of the bisons I've seen, they're pretty skittish. Unless you went up and confronted them, they probably wouldn't try to charge you. Here's that same place I was touching last night. Yeah, that would scold you if you fell in there for more than a few seconds. After taking a dip in the pool, it makes your skin very soft, and you also smell like a firework even after rinsing off in the locker room. The maximum time you're allowed to stay in there's 20 minutes for reliability reasons, since you cannot regulate your body temperature over 97 Fahrenheit. And it can cause problems quickly after that. Now, it looks like they're having a pretty dry year. Usually this here has water in it, this big pool. A lot of the hot springs aren't flowing as much, so you're gonna see a bunch of dried up areas. This is even prettier in the daylight. I couldn't tell how green it was. Couldn't see all this really cool sludge along the sides. And further up here, there was actually a raccoon hanging out in the water up here last night, since the water up here is more lukewarm. I wonder how far this stuff freezes up in the winter time. I know those swimming pools, which I'm unsure if they're open in the winter, probably would be a lot colder. Oop, got hit by a sprinkler. And over here, we'll take a walk over there in a moment. The duck pond that has some fish in it. There's a little gumball machine where you can buy fish food, throw it in. That is not nearly as hot as this stuff. As soon as this hot spring enters this pool, it's allowed to sit there and lose a lot of its heat. On a wet year, this also would have water, because if that flows just a little bit more, like I showed the water lines far up on that wall, that would mean that this would be filled with water. A lot of dried up areas, but we're coming up to a pretty nice wet spot as soon as we go to look at this old suspension bridge The signs say it was built in the 1920s, but it was condemned in the 80s until it was rebuilt in the early 90s. The 4 towers are original, but everything else has been replaced. I wonder why it's not wheelchair accessible. Maybe because it rocks back and forth a lot. So on a wet year, this right here would have trickling water going over it. You see a little bit of water spilling there, but it would be farther up. I love these pools with mineral dams that form to keep them up. And I thought this was pretty cool last night. If you grab the bridge, you can actually sway it a good amount. I always love walking across these little suspension bridges. It's kind of dizzy now in the swaying. Last night, it was kind of hard to see with the dark landscape. I couldn't tell how far down it was until I shined the flashlight. I thought the pool, for some reason, was just going over a small stream. I wonder how warm the water is here. Probably not very. But on certain years, this whole cliff would be trickling mineral water from the sulfur pools. Just like you see right here. Very pretty. We'll get another view of that in a moment. Very colorful algae and different slimes. Looks very nice. Not allowed to walk in here, but just by touching it, it's pretty nice and warm. Definitely warmer than it was last night, because it's gonna be losing a lot of heat when it's dark out without any help from the sun. This area is a bit dried up because as soon as this water stops coming in, you see what happened over there. The mineral pools all dried up. And those pipes I showed you back there where it all starts, a good amount of it is being taken for the swimming pool and the amusement parks. This looks very different than last night. Way more dried up than I thought it would have looked. I think they intentionally dig this out with shovels because as the minerals build up, creating a dam, it would start coming over the boardwalk. And there's a bird right there, probably hunting for little bugs. I did see a lot of worms and insects in the pools. There was also a good amount of snails further down where it is cooling off. A good amount of these guys out here. Birds walking around. And here's more of those holes they had to dig with shovels. It would be even cooler to see this at times of high flow. Here's another mineral pool before it goes off the edge. And we'll walk down there to that bench. Yep, you see there's a big water slide, in-ground pool. Another giant in-ground pool up there, the ones you pay to go into. And the building right in front of me is the free bathhouse. Anyone who wants to come by can get a 20-minute soak. Got a few aquatic plants here in these pools. This would probably be incredible to see on a below freezing night. The amount of steam Very beautiful views, mineral dams. That's a pretty far drop off of this mineral ledge. And all that water down there is heated. We gotta find a way down to that parking lot. This would probably be a good place to swim on that peninsula. Or, I didn't mean to say peninsula. I meant to say sandbar or delta. That's not a peninsula. You can see after the amusement parks are done, it's discharged into this stream because all those ponds or heated pools do not have filtration. It just comes in one end and out the other end, a constant flow of water. Now, as we walk up here, you're gonna see a bunch of areas that are completely dried up from lack of flow. Right about here is where that raccoon was hanging out. I mentioned that the swimming pool was a bit too warm for myself. I do run pretty hot, but I think it would be really nice in very cold weather if I had a way to vent heat. This whole spot is dried up. All this area right here is supposed to be filled with water. All these pools. And there's the free mineral pool where I was in. I definitely like the indoor one better. Not as hot, it seemed. Or maybe it's just because it was out of the sun. There's one more pool there. It trickles over that dam into a trough next to the building that collects it and sends it down that stream. Look at that, there's a stone bison right there. Just take a look at how dried up this part is. This is supposed to have some water trickling over it, getting collected by that drainage ditch. I see a few Canadian geese right there in the middle of all of it. Here we are at one of the other pools, and there's a blue heron flying away. See all the splashing there? And it's a bunch of goldfish. And here's where the water leaves. This is definitely not hot water, but it's also not heated either. I mean, it's not heated. Good amount of blockage on the side of this. Now that started flowing a little bit better down into that drain. It's actually choking up a little bit on that water, the extra flow. There's the blue herring again. Is he going after the many native fish, or is he targeting the goldfish? As you see, there's a bunch of fish in here. Most of those are goldfish, even the gray ones. But I know last night I saw a few fish that weren't. I didn't even notice the goldfish last night. Must have been sleeping and hiding. But here's the herring trying to get away from me. Going over to see those geese. So this pool here, I bet's a lot warmer because this is actually being fed by the spring. And here's where it's leaving into that pond that I just touched. You see there's a liner here, which has water under it. The pond liner is kind of messed up. Here's the pipe with it leaving. Look at this fly, unable to get out in the slime. He'll dry himself off and take off. There's some really big koi. Not just the small ones like in the other pond. The ones in the other pond look more like large comets, which is a type of goldfish. It's really cool to see the minerals all built up around that sprinkler head. That's just going to keep increasing in size over the years as the minerals build up. This pond is considerably warmer. It's only lukewarm. Take a look at all those tiny fish in the water. See them? Just about everywhere. Yeah, this pond liner is all falling apart. Look at this. It's very thin. It's a thinner gauge than what I use for the pond I installed a few months back. It's all brittle, cracking in the sun. It's probably in better condition underneath the pond, but considering how much water's entering it, the leakage probably doesn't matter a whole lot, since it's actually constantly being fed. Alright everyone, I stepped back over here at the culvert pipe and took a better look. Now I see how it is. Yes, the pond liner here is messed up. You see how there's water underneath it there? But this here is the actual pipe. And there's no blockage in the way at all. Look at it sucking up all that stuff. Let's see that come out the other side. There it is. Whole bunch of sulfur buildup. On this big pool here, I do see a liner here also. So it makes me wonder how many of these pools are artificial and real. Take a look at all the minerals coming out of this giant rock. I wonder if that's natural or artificial. Probably natural. Alright everyone, here we are below it. This is probably the most beautiful view. There's that walkway that we were just up on a moment ago. And this looks like a lot of low flow. Too bad all the amusement parks have all those pipes taking some of it. I bet that water's really warm. Not exactly from the hot spring, but because the sun's helping it come down here too. Up there's a discharge from the amusement park pools, and this is all the natural stuff coming down. I love how it built up. You can see where the minerals and the rocks end and meet. And there's the suspension bridge. And I am curious, how warm is the water at this point? It might be warmer than expected because those swimming pools were almost too hot to be in, and they're discharging into this, which has a lot of volume. It's lukewarm. Perfect for swimming. I didn't really enjoy being in the hot pools after more than 5 minutes or so. Probably be better at night. Got the hot sun beating down right now. This is a very beautiful spot. All the dripping water. And here's the boat ramp. A lot of kayakers just got out of the water. Good amount of fish in here too. Wow, this whole river is nice and warm for swimming. Let's go into the current where it shouldn't have been affected by the hot springs. Wow. Ice cold, just walking 10 feet away from this water. Wow, it makes a huge difference. It's not even the hot weather at all. That's incredible. Does anyone know what type of fish these are? Alright everyone, now in this area, this right here where it's kind of stagnant with a lot of fish hanging out in it, that's the discharge when they empty the swimming pool over here at the amusement park. This water coming down, which is pretty warm, is coming through this little canal here and out of the free bathhouse. A lot of fish down there. Smells really nice. I love the smell of sulfur. Look at all the green moss. Very mossy spot.